Okay,
Okay.
so that's it. We're live, Marie. You can begin whenever you like.
Excellent. Okay. Hello, everybody.
No.
I'm going to talk sort of very generally about health and nutrition. And, you know, if you have questions, really specific questions that you would like answered, please do ask the questions because, you know, I'm here to help you learn. So, you know, if what I'm talking about isn't covering what you're interested in, then please do put up a hand or put something in the chat box and I'll do my best to answer them. So I do various things. So I teach the Alexander technique, which is all to do with body use and posture, I suppose. But I'm also a qualified nutritionist and a homeopath. So I'll talk mainly about nutrition, but I am going to throw in one or two little homeopathic things that I personally have found really helpful. So, you know, you take from it what you like. But I suppose where I'd like to start is a subject that has really come to the fore in nutrition recently, which is blood sugar balancing. Now, does this mean anything to anyone? Has anyone heard about balancing your blood sugar or your glucose levels? Or is this a completely new subject to everybody?
I actually was doing some swatting up, trying to do some homework before this, so that I knew a little bit more than I do, and I noticed that it appeared a lot.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. Now, one of the reasons that it's huge is that it kind of underlies so many conditions of modern life. So, you know, we're in an obesity crisis. We're in a crisis of type 2 diabetes. We're in a crisis of Alzheimer's. We're in a crisis. All these conditions have got something in common, and that thing is inflammation in the body, which, if you like, is a sort of fire in the body. And there's an awful lot you can do to calm that fire. And the first thing I would say is get your blood sugar balanced. Now, you may look at me and think, what does that mean? Where do I even start? So let's think of an example. So would anyone care to share with me what they had for breakfast this morning? Anybody? Anybody dare? Go on then.
You can either, if you want to speak on the microphone, you can speak on the microphone, or you can put it in the chat box. I'll share what I had. I have to remember. I had cereal, which
what kind of cereal?
Yeah, I know. I choose the box that looks healthy, but I know it's probably not healthy at all. It was a red fruit flake thing.
Okay. With what? With milk? With yogurt? With
Yeah, with milk. I'm trying to stop having milk, but I haven't succeeded.
Okay. That's all right. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else want to tell me what they had for breakfast?
Okay, so we've got in the we've got things in the chat box.
Okay. Quinoa and milk and some orange juice. Okay.
Oh, ginger. That sounds very healthy.
Anyone else want to share?
In the chat box, we've got Nuria said she just had tea.
Yeah.
Emma had bread. Emma had a very Catalan breakfast, I think. Bread with tomato and jam.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Karina, oh well, quinoa I think is Peru. Quinoa and milk and some orange juice.
Oh, someone had avocado. Avocado on a cracker. Okay.
Oh, who had avocado on a cracker? Coffee and oat milk.
Okay.
A piece of cake. A piece of cake and tea.
Okay.
Vera had avocado on a cracker.
Excellent. All right. Okay. So if I just list out some of those foods, so red fruit flakes, quinoa and milk, bread with jam and tomato, cake. Do you know what food group they all fall into? Those are all carbohydrates. Okay. So those are all the major food group called carbohydrate. The other major food groups are protein and fat. And of all the things you've listed there, the only person to have had some fat is the person who had avocado, okay? So protein and fat are essential food groups, and they help you balance your blood sugar. So if you were going to eat, and there's nothing, you know, it's a learning process, but if you were going to eat, for example, bread, jam, and a cup of tea with sugar for breakfast, then you were immediately going to send your blood sugar going up. Now, your body doesn't like it if your blood sugar goes up really fast. It immediately says, I cannot cope, I cannot manage this amount of blood with sugar in it going round and round my body. And therefore it sends in a hormone called insulin, which makes your blood sugar come down again. But because it's gone up so fast, it comes down really fast, and you end up with what's called a blood sugar low. And you might know this feeling because you feel a bit shaky, your head feels a bit fuzzy, and you want something else to eat. So you want some more, I don't know, a cracker, a biscuit, some peanuts, something like that, a packet of crisps, something that's going to bring your blood sugar back up again. And if you're not careful, people end up on a roller coaster. You know, roller coasters that go up and down like this, where you are sending your blood sugar high, your body's saying, I can't cope with that. It brings it back down again. And then you eat something and it goes high again. This, in the long term, creates this fire in the body called inflammation. And honestly, it sounds a bit weird, but if you can start adding a little bit of protein and fat to every meal, you start to have a balanced blood sugar. So it might go up a tiny bit, but it then comes down and it stays within a nice gentle range. And this is good for everything in your body. It really is. It's such an important thing to do. So for breakfast, I had 2 eggs, some spinach, and some avocado. I didn't have any carbohydrate because I find that I feel much, much better if I eat a breakfast which has everything from all 3 food groups. So fat, protein, and carbohydrate. Okay. Does that make sense to people? Do you follow that?
Yeah, and Marie, can I, because I was, when I was reading a little bit before, I was
Yeah.
reading about this when there's too much glucose suddenly, and it's like our body crashes because it's trying to process the food, and then obviously we can't
Exactly.
focus, and we don't have any energy, and obviously for learning, for anything, but obviously this affects our
Yeah,
learning as well, which I think is a problem for school
absolutely.
children, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. So your brain is an organ like any other, you know, so all your organs need energy, all of them. And your brain is an organ like any other. Your brain needs energy. In fact, your brain's a big user of energy. And so your brain needs that energy to be constant. And so if you are crashing and sending it up high again, there are going to be times when the brain doesn't have energy. And you know how that feels, you know, when you suddenly get that, oh my goodness, I can't carry on unless I get a biscuit, unless I get a packet of crisps. It's a very common thing these days to have that. So that would be my first thing is, you know, try and look at what's on your plate. Is it a balance of all the food groups? Is there some green vegetable there? And that would be the first thing that I would suggest to keep your brain and to keep all your organs healthy. There are lots of other things you can do, but that would be the first thing I suggest. And there's a lot of resources these days. I don't know if you're on Instagram, but there's a wonderful woman called Jessie Inchauspé. I don't know if you've come across her. She might be, she's Basque. She's
Can
Basque.
can you
Can
put
I
that in the chat box,
write
Marie?
that in the chat box? Yeah. So
Yeah.
she has written a book she's called on Instagram, she's called the Glucose Goddess.
Oh.
Yeah, and she's brilliant. So you can follow her on Instagram, you can read her book. Her book is called The Glucose Revolution. And it really simple, and it's available in, I think, most of the major European languages. So it's a great book to read and it explains this process. So yeah, I'd recommend that to you. I'll write her name, Inchauspé. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm really sorry. There you go. That's what it's called.
Oh, yes, that's a story. I've not seen that one. Jessie
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Has anybody heard of her? Maybe
no,
no, me neither.
yeah.
But that's because I'm eating unhealthy cereals for breakfast. Tomorrow,
Uh,
just you wait, Mary. Tomorrow my breakfast will be different.
now, so the other thing is that a lot of people there had some coffee, and coffee's fine, but again, I think with coffee and tea and all these things, there's a tolerance level. So some people really cope well with coffee and some people don't cope well with coffee. I personally know that I can have a cup of coffee in the morning and be absolutely fine. But if I have coffee after about midday, I don't sleep. And I'm quite sensitive to coffee. And that brings me on to my second point, which is actually not to do with what you're eating, but one of the best things you can do for your brain is to make sure you get enough sleep. It's really, really important. Sleep is when there's a process that happens. It's almost like the dustbin men come along and they clear away all the dead cells and they take away all the rubbish that's accumulated in your body during the day. And so, you know the feeling. If you had a really good night's sleep, you will wake up and you will feel refreshed and you'll feel ready to start the day. And so my second point would be make sure you're getting enough sleep. It's unbelievably important. The other thing that happens is if we don't get enough sleep, there are two hormones called ghrelin and leptin, and the names are not important, it doesn't matter. But if you're not getting enough sleep, ghrelin is to do with hunger. It's the hunger hormone. And leptin is to do with satisfaction, feeling satisfied with what you've eaten. Leptin goes down and ghrelin goes up. So you feel more hungry if you haven't slept. And I don't know if anyone's experienced this, but I remember it very, very clearly. After my children were born, and when I was being woken in the night, I would get huge cravings for sugar afterwards. I would really want to eat sugar after a night of interrupted sleep. So that would be my second point is sleep. We underestimate how important it is. It's unbelievably important to get a good quality night's sleep. So what's your coffee? If you were one of these people who starts off with one cup of coffee and then starts saying, oh, maybe I'll just have another little coffee to get me through the afternoon, and then you're not getting to sleep, just watch your coffee intake, because as I say, sleep is so important. That would be
Yeah,
my next
it
point.
is. That's also when we learn as well, when we're sleeping.
Your body does a clear out thing with memory as well. So it decides
Yeah,
what to keep and it decides what
yeah,
to discard. And
exactly.
that's fascinating, actually.
It
So
is,
it's
isn't
very
it? And it's like that, that's what I keep saying to my son, if you, it doesn't matter that you've studied all day, everything that you learn at school today, if you don't sleep, it's not
yeah,
going to stick. So,
exactly.
you kind
Like
of
it goes into
relearn it
the
in your sleep.
absolutely. It's like it goes into the black box, the
Yeah,
recorder. It's
yeah,
really important. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
sleep would be my next thing. So these are very general things. The next thing I would say is it's kind of people say, if you want to be brainy, if you want to be clever, eat fish. And you think, really? Really? Actually, that's been proven to be true. That especially, and again, you might have heard about this. Do you know about omega-3s? Has anyone talked to you about omega-3s? Yeah. So omega-3s are a type of fat. There are different omegas. There's omega-6 and there's also omega-9. Omega-9 you don't hear about very often, but you do hear about omega-6 and omega-3. Does anyone know which is the more inflammatory one, the one that creates the fire in the body? That's omega-6, okay? And the less inflammatory one, the one that's good, is omega-3. Now, omega-3 you find in lots of foods. For example, you find in oily fish like salmon and sardines and what's the little tiny ones called? Anchovies.
Anchovies.
You know,
Yeah.
anchovies. You know, some people love them, some people hate them. So this type of oily fish is full of omega-3. It's also in eggs and meat, but especially meat that's been raised on grass rather than on grain, on cereal. It's so good for you. It's anti-inflammatory. So this blood sugar, you know, up and down creates inflammation. Omega-3s help to flatten the inflammation. And there's been a study, and I can't remember the name of it, but they did a study where pregnant women were divided into two groups, and the first group were given lots and lots of food, very rich in omega-3 when they were pregnant, and the other group weren't. And they noticed that the babies, the toddlers of the group that were fed a larger amount of omega-3 were able to do more complex tasks when they were about 2 than the ones who weren't. And it's a bit of a controversial study, actually, because, you know, they were taking a group and not giving them the omega-3s, but the babies who were fed whose mothers ate the omega-3s, their brains developed much more quickly and they were able to do much more complex tasks than the babies whose mothers didn't eat the omega-3s. So get your omega-3s would be my next piece of advice.
Wow. I might have had a bad breakfast, Marie, but I did have sardines for lunch.
Hey! And you know, sardines that come in a tin, the little tins, brilliant.
Doesn't matter, no? Anything.
No, what I would say is try to get them in olive oil rather than sunflower oil. So do you remember the omega-3s, the omega-6s? Omega-3 sardines, omega-6 sunflower oil. It's it's something, yeah, it can be a bit inflammatory. It's yeah, but you know, it's very hard to avoid the omega-6s. That all the processed food contains omega-6s, the sunflower oil, the vegetable oil, the corn seed oil, all these oils, they're not so great for us, but they're very cheap.
Sorry, is that saturated fats that you're talking about? Or is that something different?
No, saturated fat's different. So saturated fat is fat that tends to be solid at room temperature. So saturated fat includes butter and coconut oil and lard and these old-fashioned fats. Those actually in smaller quantities are okay, but those are not. So the ones that we're talking about are the liquids, the oils, if you like. So you really want to stick with olive oil, you know? So in Spain and Greece, you've got plentiful supply of great olive oil. So use it. It's wonderful stuff. It really is. What you want to avoid is the sunflower oil, because that's an omega-6.
Can I ask, Marie? We have a walnut tree in our garden, and I love walnuts.
Oh, yes.
Are they good? Do they have omega-3?
Yes,
I seem to. They do. Okay.
They do.
Right.
Now, there's it's much easier to get your omega-3s if you're not a vegetarian. So they're in eggs, they're in fish, they're in meats. They are also in nuts and seeds. However, there's always a little however, they need to be converted. Okay, so omega-3 in fish and in eggs is in a form that the body can use straight away. No conversion. The omega-3s that are in walnuts, in seeds, like pumpkin seeds or chia seeds. Have you heard of chia seeds? They're very popular at the moment. They do contain omega-3s, but your body has to go through 2 or 3 stages of conversion before the body can use them. So they are there, but they're less available, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But certainly they're a great food, you know, they're a great, and again, they're a fat. They've got fat in them. We need fat. So, you know, nuts and
But-
seeds.
Okay.
Absolutely
But
wonderful.
this is good fat, yeah. Emma asked a question. What about nuts, rich in omega-6 or 3? So I think that's answered your question, Emma. Is it all nuts, Marie?
No,
No.
walnuts, your walnut tree, that's brilliant. Some contain a mix. You can go online and you can say, you know, what balance. Nuts in general are so good for you. They contain minerals. They contain, so for example, Brazil nuts contain a mineral called selenium, which is really hard to get actually from other sources, and you need selenium. Everyone needs selenium. It's in hazelnuts as well. Almonds are brilliant. They contain magnesium. Yes, so nuts are brilliant, and seeds as well. I think they're brilliant.
Right. Okay. That's good. I've got an almond tree and a hazelnut tree.
Wow.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
you're
doing
so
well. You see, I'm again. The cereal was a bad start, but
The cereal is a carbohydrate. The berries, okay. What you can do is you can add some full fat yogurt to it. So there's your fat, and you can add some nuts and seeds to it. So there's your protein and fat. You know, so you're just aiming to balance things a little. That's all.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, there's just a couple of things in the chat box, Marie. If we can just have a look. Elvira said in seaweed, and we take them in
Yeah,
vegan gummies.
Yeah, seaweeds are great food. Seaweeds are food that we have sort of in the West ignored a bit, but in Japan and in other countries, they eat loads of seaweed. It's really it's got iodine in it, which is something else that we need in our diet, and that iodine always comes from the sea. It's a sea mineral. Yeah, seaweed's a great source of all sorts.
Seaweed.
Of...
I don't know what we eat them in vegan gummies. Elvira, is that omega-3?
Yes.
Yes. Ah, in
Yes,
vegan
because
gummies.
we are also vegetarian, so there is omega-3 in like tablets, but they are like gummies.
Ah.
And they come from fish, but they are also vegan. That I think they are made of seaweed, spirulina, or
I think so.
Yeah.
I know they are because, for example, you can get so another nutrient that is very hard for vegans to get is vitamin D, but you can buy vitamin D that is extracted from algae, which is also like seaweed. So yeah, I think so. But yeah.
Okay, great. And Karina said, which is better, omega-3 or chia seeds?
All right, okay, so that's the point that I was saying. So chia seeds contain the omega-3s, but they're not immediately available to your body. Your body has to use enzymes. Have you heard of enzymes? To do the conversion to omega-3 that is more available for your body. So it's not that one is better than the other. Chia seeds contain omega-3, but your body has to convert it to ALA. Basically, it's the more available form. That's the answer.
Okay, so it's a more direct route, can we say?
Yeah. So the more direct route is your sardine, yeah, or your egg. It's there, it's available. It's just that, and you know, I eat chia seeds all the time. They're wonderful. And I don't know if you've ever put them in water and left them. They give off sort of gel. And that gel's really good for your guts. It sort of smooths the passage of the food through the guts. So that's a really good thing to do. Yeah, chia seeds. They're great.
Okay. I think Karina has a special interest in omega-3. I think she works in a company that deals with omega-3 products, I think. You're still in the same place, no, Karina?
Yeah. In other business, but in the same company.
In the same company, yeah. You have the special anchovies, don't you? Are they special Peruvian anchovies?
Yeah. It's the yes. Peru is the main producer of omega-3 in the world.
In the world?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Do you produce the supplements, the fish oil supplements?
Yes. And we sell to Europe, North America, China.
Yeah.
You see.
We have
Small
the raw
world.
material.
Okay, yeah. As soon as I saw your question, Karina, I was like, yeah, now I remember. Okay, right. Sorry, Maddie.
It's okay. So I'm just thinking what to tell you next. What to avoid, perhaps. Or before what to avoid, what else can you do? So, and I'm sure everybody knows this. They say these days, eat the rainbow. So eat all the colors. So eat all the colors of fruit and vegetables, because every single one has a different benefit. So, you know, there's this word polyphenols. I don't know if you've heard of that. Polyphenols just means substances, nutrients in plants that are good for us. So, you know, red peppers, orange sweet potatoes, blueberries. In this country, we have cabbage, which is red. I don't know if you've seen this, whether you have this. All these food, but it's also slightly blue. So if you ever have the water that comes out of the red cabbage, it's blue. It's called an anthocyanin. And again, it doesn't matter what they're called, but you want to be eating the rainbow. So all the fruits and vegetables, all the colors, every day if you can.
Yeah, that was on my question to ask you. I read it somewhere, eat the rainbow. I was like, is that true? Do I really have to eat the rainbow? And I saw that purple food, it says, is good for memory.
Oh yes, purple food's good for so many things. So that's the word I just said. So anthocyanins, and again, you don't need to know the scientific name. That is the compound in the blue-red food that makes it that color. So blueberries, red cabbage, pomegranates, raspberries, these red purple foods, they're very good for you. They're good for the dilation of the blood vessels, so to prevent high blood pressure, for brain health, for so many different things. So yeah. Now, there's one color I haven't mentioned, and that is really important, and that's green. So green leafy vegetables every day, I would say, if you can manage it. So I'm talking about spinach, kale, broccoli. Broccoli is wonderful. Cabbages. In this country, we have a thing called Brussels sprouts. I don't know if you have those. They're like mini cabbages. They're this big.
It's hard to get them. It's hard to get them here. I sometimes see them in Portugal. I haven't seen them often here in Spain. I don't know. Nuria, do you grow them? Nuria is a keen gardener.
I don't understand this plant.
Yeah, I don't know what the Spanish word is.
Yes, it's coles de Bruselas.
Okay. I don't like.
Don't like them. No.
Yeah, so you know, all these foods are a bit bitter. Yeah, they're a bit bitter. That bitter taste is really good for you. It's
not for the taste. Sorry, not for the taste. It's for the smell.
Maybe you're cooking them too much. I don't know, but this bitter taste,
yes,
it's really good for you. It's good for the liver. So your liver,
yes,
organ that detoxifies, it gets the toxins out of the body, and these bitter foods, they support the detoxification process. So I try to eat them every day. Some people find that hard. My husband, he doesn't like them.
Yeah, my children are not keen.
Yeah. It's funny. So I have one child who loves them and another child who doesn't. And interestingly, there's a gene, there's DNA that changes how you taste. So some people can tolerate bitter tastes better than others, and it's a genetic thing. It's genetic, and I don't mind them, and I know, my oldest doesn't mind them. My husband and my younger son, they're not keen at all, and I think it's the genetics of it, but they're so good for you. for the production of bile, detoxification. I really would say try to have them every day. And again, you know, the brain needs to be detoxified just like any other organ. So we're exposed in this modern world, unfortunately, to toxins day in and day out through fumes of cars on the road, through plastic is full of toxins that gets into our bloodstream, the things that they put in our food, or the E numbers, all these things need to be detoxed. And so, yeah, it's really good idea. As much green vegetables. The other vegetable that is really good for detoxification is onion and garlic and leeks. So these, we call them alliums. So the onions, the garlics, the leeks, and again, they're quite smelly foods, you know, but the smelly foods, they're really good for us. So yeah, that would be my top tip.
Of course, garlic keeps the vampires away too, so it's a double bonus.
Yeah. It's super good. Yeah. So yeah, eat the rainbow, eat your green leafy vegetables, eat your garlic, eat your onion, eat your tomatoes. You know, you're so lucky in Spain to my husband's he's from Galicia actually, so not far from Lisa. And when we go to Spain, the quality of the tomatoes is just incredible compared to the tomatoes that we get in this country. They taste of something. They're just wonderful. So, you know, eat the rainbow. Honestly.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Oh, I'm learning so much. I'll be a new person tomorrow.
But you're lucky because you grow a lot of things, don't you, Lisa?
Yeah, yeah, no, not me. I don't have green fingers, but yes, my partner grows things, and I just eat them.
Oh, brilliant!
Is yeah, the best. Yeah. No, I tend to anything that's green that I touch doesn't end up green. So no, but very lucky, yeah. I think it is one of the reasons that I've chosen to I think to stay in Spain. It's just so nice to be able to have so much produce in the garden all year round.
Yeah, my husband's parents live up in the north of Galicia, and the produce, the vegetables that they grow, I mean, they grow so many things. They grow peppers and onions and tomatoes and pimientos de padrón and so many vegetables. And it's just wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. They taste like they're supposed to taste. You know, they taste fantastic. So yeah.
I would Elvira, what do you think? I mean, Elvira's from Spain, but she lives in the UK. Do you agree with Marie?
Yes, but we are lucky because we found an organic farm who brings us every week a box of vegetables, and they are amazing. They are so different from the vegetables in the supermarket, so different, and they are all very good. The children love all of them, even the sprouts, everything.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Very different.
You mentioned organic there, you see, which was another thing I was going to mention. So organic fruits and vegetables they're more expensive. I mean, they're actually in the UK, they're a lot more expensive. But if you can afford them, then brilliant, eat organic, because the way that modern farming is going, we are using more and more pesticides. We are using more and more products on our crops. And we just don't know the long-term impact of them. So there's one in particular called glyphosate that it sort of makes the insects explode from inside. So can you imagine what that does to our system? So if you can afford organic, then please, you know, that's the way to go. It really is. So I try to do a little bit of growing. So I manage a few tomatoes and courgettes every year. I get a huge amount of courgettes, but that's about all I can grow here.
But that's a good combination, Marie. Courgettes and tomatoes go well together, I think.
Yeah, you can make a ratatouille, a something. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
is there
Okay. Good.
anybody? Yeah. Does anyone have any specific questions that they wanted me to answer with regards to
I,
food?
I was thinking about if you had any tips to convince my son is into that roller coaster all the time. He needs sugar all the time, and
Yeah, this is a hard one, isn't it?
he's 14.
You know, so my children are 16 and 14 now, and I have found the best way to do that is to involve them in the kitchen, in the cooking, to tell you what they want to eat and to, so get them involved in cooking eggs in the
Yeah. That's could be one way. Yes.
Yeah. And try and find it's hard. Try to find alternatives that they like that are not based on sugar. So for example, my older son, he loves nuts and dark chocolate, the chocolate that's got a high percentage of cocoa.
Yeah.
He loves so when he comes home from school every day, he has a handful of nuts, almonds, walnuts, whatever's in the box, and a couple of squares of this 75% chocolate.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. That's not too much
bad.
sugar.
Yeah.
And chocolate again has got these flavonoids in them. It's okay. It's good for you. But the dark chocolate, not the milk chocolate.
Yeah. Yes.
Marie, it could
Yeah.
be a good solution. Use honey instead.
So honey, unfortunately, is still. It does have some benefits. So honey is antibacterial. Yeah. So it's a natural antibiotic. At the end of the day, though, it's still sugar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm afraid with the sugar, it really is. It's one of, it's a thing that we have to find a way around. It's very easy to end up eating sugar all throughout the day, but then that brings me back to the point that I made right at the beginning. If you base your meals around sugar, and not just sugar, but carbohydrate that has been refined, so products based on white flour like biscuits, cake, if you constantly eat these, then it does unfortunately raise the glucose in the blood, and then your body crashes. So everyone loves sugar. Your body loves sugar because your body thinks that round the corner there's going to be a crisis and there'll be no food. Your body's in survival mode. Yeah, this is why we love the taste of sugar, because your body thinks this is instant energy. I'm going to get as much of it as I can, because your body thinks there's a crisis corner. It wants to store fat, and the best way to store fat is to eat huge amounts of sugar. So our taste buds are there loving the stuff because it wants to survive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
You
think we all agree, don't we? The problem is the putting it into practice, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I mean, I think as well, like, when we have busy lives as well. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm not the main cook in my house, so I come home and I have a meal waiting for me. But I think when people are working long hours, you've got families to look after, you've got children to take to activities, and to make a meal which is healthy and good for you sometimes can be challenging.
Absolutely, exactly. It's hard. I hear you. So you start with baby steps, Can you, for example, boil some eggs and have eggs ready to eat? A boiled egg is a brilliant snack. It's protein, it's pure protein. That is not going to send your blood sugar high. Can you have tins of sardines? Can you have nuts, dark chocolate, seeds. These are all ready to eat, yeah? And have those instead of the bread, instead of the biscuits, instead of the cake, instead of the packet of crisps. They're just in the long term, and they're more nutrient filled, yeah? They've got nutrients in them. Unfortunately, a biscuit is empty calories. It has very little nutritious value, you know, whereas a handful of almonds does have nutritious value. You've got magnesium, you've got minerals, you've got fat, you've got protein in an almond. Do you see? And so it's finding so a handful of almonds rather than a biscuit, or a boiled egg with a bit of salt on rather than a packet of crisps. It's finding little ways that you can switch. You know, and I hear you. We all live lives that are so busy these days. You know, it's hard. It's hard.
We have to make the effort, don't we? I just noticed in the chat box, Marie, Emma said, what do you recommend as a substitute for pasta?
Okay. So there are good carbohydrates out there. So somebody mentioned quinoa. Quinoa is brilliant. So it's got all the essential amino acids, protein in it. It's got protein in it. It's got minerals in it. It's easy to cook. So quinoa would be a good one. Another one that is really good is called buckwheat. And I'm afraid I don't know what that is in other languages.
Is that not what... Sorry, is that not what the Scottish make an alcoholic drink out of?
Don't know, maybe. It's
I'm
more
sure.
Russian, actually, than Scottish. You know, in Russia, they have this thing called kasha. Kasha? Have you heard of kasha? I don't know. I have these Russian friends, and they serve kasha.
Buckwheat is trigo sarraceno.
Okay.
I don't know what it's called.
Yeah. Buckwheat, trigo
Buckwheat,
sarraceno.
yes.
Yeah.
That again has got protein in it, and it's really, it's gluten free. It's really good for you. So those would be the two things. They're grains, easy to cook, come in a packet, tasty. They're really tasty, but they're much better for you than pasta.
How
And
we had bulgur wheat recently. Is that not good?
Bulgur wheat is a kind of wheat, so it's okay. It's got gluten in, and a lot of people don't tolerate gluten very well. So some people are absolutely fine. I recently did this is I suppose nutrition taken to another level. I recently did a DNA test to test my genes, my genetic makeup. There's a gene related to gluten, and I personally am highly intolerant of gluten. I can't eat it. It creates a lot of problems for me. I get gas, I get bloating. I don't feel comfortable when I eat a lot of gluten. So yeah, a lot of and actually the wheat that we eat these days is very, very different to the wheat that our grandparents ate. So it's bred to grow a big volume of cereal, a big volume of wheat from a small packet of land, if you see. So it's very, very dense in gluten. It's not like the wheat that they were eating 200 years ago. It's completely different. Some people are my husband and my other son completely fine with it. Me and my older son,
the dark side.
Yeah, exactly. It's like exactly the two sides of the force. But yeah,
it's like Star Wars, good against evil.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. That's really interesting. I've got a language question, Marie. Yes. I really don't understand this. When did quinoa become quinoa?
I think it was always quinoa.
Why did we just called it quinoa?
I don't know. Pass. No, I have no idea. Don't know. I mean, I might be wrong. It might be quinoa, but I thought it was quinoa. I might be wrong.
No. Everybody calls it quinoa. Everybody. I think it's only me that calls it quinoa from the 1980s.
I don't know. Is it not from South America? Is it not Bolivian? I think it's Bolivian.
I don't know,
Bolivia?
Karina, or is it Peru?
Bolivia and Peru are the main producers of quinoa.
Yeah.
Right. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. How do you pronounce it, Karina?
Quinoa.
Okay, yeah. It's like almost the same as Marie.
Mary.
Okay, is there anything else that you want to say, Marie, or does anybody have any
And I'm just
questions? I
thinking,
don't want to keep you too long. I know
No,
you've had a busy day.
so I was just, so the things that, I mean, unfortunately, sugar is something we need to avoid, and processed food, things that come in packets, alcohol. Okay.
Right. Okay. Bye-bye, Marie.
This is so I'm fine with, I've cut out nearly all my sugar. I've cut out all my gluten. I like a glass of wine. I do like.
I know you do. I've shared a bottle with you.
You've shared lots of bottles with me.
We've shared lots of bottles. More in the past, but
so it's not. I think again, moderation is what we're talking about. So, and in red wine there are compounds, there are nutrients that are good for you. In beer, not so much, unfortunately, and so we need to be a little careful with the alcohol.
I think you might have answered my next question. My next question was, you can't be perfect. What's your guilty pleasure?
Well, there you know. A lovely glass of delicious red wine.
Okay.
When we go to Galicia, there's Mencía. Do you know Mencía? I love Mencía. It's such a good wine. I love that. Yeah, I really do.
Okay. I prefer an Albarino myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, good. Does anybody have any questions before we let Marie go? Hang on. Oh, I think, did I have something? I know Judith commented that if you're stressed, you need sugar. Yeah.
Well,
It's like a vicious circle, isn't it, though?
it is. I would argue that it's addictive, and that if you can find an alternative in the long term, you'll be better off.
Yeah, this is one of those lifetime struggles, but
I know, I hear you. It's
no,
Try to
but it's for our own good. I know it's for our own good, and we have to make an effort. I'm not having my cereal tomorrow. I'm gonna have I'm gonna have something different.
And there's also an 80-20 rule. Do you know what I mean? So there's be good 80% of the time, because life is for living. So be good 80% of the time, 20% of the time, enjoy yourself, but you're balancing it out with the times that you're being good to your body. Yeah.
Okay. 20% wine then, yeah? Karina put in the chat box. I know, sorry. Irma put first. What about legumes and pulses? And Karina's put, what kind of food, veg do we need to eat to recover energy? Is that energy, Karina? ASAP? So legumes and pulses and energy foods, I think.
So legumes and pulses are great. They're another food. Well, they're great for fiber, so they push things through. They're good for that. There is a lot of people struggle to digest, so the chickpeas and the lentils and all these foods. They have in their outer coating a substance called phytates that some people, and it's there it's a natural plant protector, I suppose. It's there, so if an animal eats the seed, it protects that seed as it passes through the digestive system of the animal. Yeah, so that then it can be planted at the other side. You can you can get rid of that coating, that phytate, by soaking the legumes in some water with a little bit of vinegar. If you put a bit of vinegar in the water and soak them, so soak your lentils, soak your chickpeas, soak your beans, and that helps to break them down and it makes them easier to digest. So I struggle to digest them personally, but if I soak them, much easier. Yeah. So that's quite easy to do.
Yeah, they're quite a big part of the diet here in Spain. Pulses. There's lots of lentils and lots of chickpeas, much more than in the UK, I think. I didn't really used to eat pulses in the UK. I can't avoid them here.
No, I mean, and I love them. So, you know, I love lentejas. I love all that. But yeah, I do find them a little hard to digest unless I've soaked them with a bit of vinegar to break down this chemical in the coating. Yeah.
Well, that's a good tip. A good tip. And
Yeah.
Karina's was sorry, Karina, it was my something was covering up your word energy. So I can read it now. So foods which help us to recover energy ASAP.
So the trick is to not let your energy drop in the first place. Yeah, it's back to blood sugar balancing. I'm really sorry, but it really is. So if you're if you've gone on this up, down, then when you're at the bottom, you want something to recover. The answer is don't let it drop in the first place. I'm really sorry. I'm never going to say go and have something sugary because
no, and there's nothing that does the same job which is healthy, is there? So
really.
So yeah, we're in a bit of a catch-22. Yeah, so that's it. We need to keep our energy levels maintained. Yes, with all that advice. And
Absolutely.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, and I just wanted to remind before we go that it's amazing. It's something that I never used to think about, and but that our gut and our brain are so connected and constantly communicating with each other. And you know, having a healthy diet means that neurogenesis is happening, so we're creating new brain cells, and neuroplasticity also, which means that the connections between our existing cells are able to get stronger. So it's so
Absolutely.
interrelated, everything, where you wouldn't really think, would you? Oh, food and food and learning, food and the brain, food, but it's so interconnected and so essential.
Completely.
And just
You know,
feeling better. If you feel better, you can do things so much better anyway, because you have more energy, you can concentrate more, you can focus more, whatever you're doing, whether you're learning a language, whether you're playing an instrument, whether you're gardening, whatever you're doing.
and all those things, you know, all those things, learning something new, those are great for your brain, you know. So your brain, as you were saying, neuroplasticity, your brain makes new connections all the time if you learn something new. So learn a new language, learn an instrument, learn to cook, learn to garden. These you know, be a lifelong learner. These things are so good for your brain. It keeps your brain agile, it keeps your brain on its toes. You know, it's such a good thing to do. Yeah, seriously.
That's a great expression to end with, Marie. On its toes. I love that.
On its toes.
On its toes. Keeps it on its toes. There. Focus.
That's a very English expression. To keep it on its toes, it means you don't let it go to sleep. It keeps it lively.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Don't let your brain go to sleep.
Like a mouse.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay. Well, Marie, right. I'm just going to stop recording so that then everybody can appear on camera who wants to appear if they've not on camera now. So we can say goodbye. Okay. So thank you very much.